Serial killers and how they pick their prey. Serial killers frequently follow a pattern. That pattern may just be the ways in which they harm their victims, but frequently, their pattern extends to the manner in which they choose their victims. Some killers target people who look similar, or have the same jobs, or have the same interests. These 9 killers all had specific profiles they bore in mind while choosing their next victims. Number 1. Adam Leroy Lane reportedly hated women, saying they were below him. He is known to have killed 2 women and was caught while trying to kill a third, a 15-year-old girl. Police believe he may have killed many more as he traveled for his job as a trucker. He put little planning into his attacks. His first known victim was killed while she was outside in her yard talking on the phone. He chose his second victim by trying doors. Monica Massaro was stabbed to death in her New Jersey home because her door was unlocked. Lane's only goal was to kill women. He didn't particularly care what they did or looked like. Serial killers frequently follow a pattern. That pattern may just be the ways in which they harm their victims, but frequently, their pattern extends to the manner in which they choose their victims. Some killers target people who look similar, or have the same jobs, or have the same interests. These 9 killers all had specific profiles they bore in mind while choosing their next victims. Hansen was an experienced tracker and hunter. He literally hunted his female victims. He either drove or flew them in his private plane to remote sections of Alaska, then pursued them through the woods. He kidnapped, raped, and murdered at least 17 women around Anchorage and possibly more than 30. Hansen had a stutter and bad acne growing up. He reportedly felt shunned by attractive girls in his school and turned his revenge fantasies into reality. Hansen primarily targeted good-looking women who worked in the sex trade. 3. Dennis Rader. Dennis Rader, commonly known by the nickname BTK, which stands for Bind, Torture, Kill, was a serial killer who committed his crimes from the 1970s to the 1990s in Wichita, Kansas. Rader chose his victims based on several factors, usually involving accessibility and opportunity. Here are some of the ways Rader selected his victims. Stalking and surveillance. Rader often stalked his victims for a period of time before committing the crime. He would observe their daily routines, looking for habits or vulnerabilities he could exploit. Random opportunity. While some of Rader's victims seemed to be systematically chosen, he also took advantage of random situations. If he saw an easy opportunity to approach and control someone, he might act on it. Single women and small families. Most of Rader's victims were single women or lived in homes with few people, making it easier for him to carry out his plans without interference. He tended to target those he perceived as easy to dominate. Power and control. Rader described choosing victims as a way to fulfill his need for power and control. He sought the feeling of owning his victims, which he demonstrated through acts of restraint and torture. In general, Dennis Rader's selection of victims was a combination of opportunity, stalking, and the desire to satisfy his distorted personal needs. Number 4. Anders Breivik. Anders Breivik, the perpetrator of the terrorist attacks in Norway on July 22, 2011, selected his victims based on a clear ideological strategy. His choice of victims reflected his extreme political views and his goal to harm groups he saw as opposing his beliefs. Below are the key factors in Breivik's victim selection. Political motive. Breivik saw his attack as a crusade against what he perceived as the threat of Islam and immigration policies in Europe. He targeted individuals connected to the Norwegian Labour Party, the ruling political party at the time, which he blamed for promoting multiculturalism and immigration. The Utoya attack. Most of Breivik's victims were young people attending a political summer camp organized by the Labour Party on the island of Utoya. He attacked these youths because they represented the future leaders of the party, a key part of his strategy to undermine Norway's political development in a direction he opposed. The Oslo bombing. Prior to the Utoya attack, Breivik carried out a bombing at a government building in Oslo. This bombing was intended to kill and injure government officials and create chaos before he moved on to Utoya. Maximizing impact. Breivik chose his victims not for personal reasons, but to create the greatest impact. By attacking both government officials and young political members, he aimed to shake society and spread his message.